Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Convention of States, Indiana Live. We're here to broadcast to you to hopefully reach out to the Hoosier grassroots here in Indiana. Let me bring myself on up here into the screen so you can see me. My name's Dale Parrish. I'm the state director for Convention of States here in Indiana. And tonight's broadcast will be basically the same format that we've been doing. We'll do half of the broadcast will be devoted to teaching you the basics of Convention of States. These will be the basic concepts that we go by in Convention of States, not only in Indiana, but nationally. And then the second segment of our broadcast, we have our guest tonight, the first of a series of region captains that we have here in Indiana tonight. Gary Harbaugh is region captain for Region 3 here in Indiana. So we'll be bringing him on after we get through the basics part of our broadcast. And so let me bring up my PowerPoint here, and I'm going to send that back, and then I will get everything set up here. So we're going to make this screen as large as possible. I'm told that there may be a number of people utilizing mobile phones tonight, so we'll make the screen as large as possible so everyone can see it. So first thing I want to talk to you about with regard to the basics is just some basic information about our state and about Convention of States nationally. We have a number of resources available to us, and the main resource, you'll hear us make reference to this website a number of times, but the main resource that we utilize in Convention of States is conventionofstates.com. That's the main website. Contains a wealth of information, and that's something we utilize to a large degree. Now, embedded in that main website is our state website page. So Convention of States /Indiana. We're also on various social media platforms. We have a Facebook page, Convention of States Indiana. As a matter of fact, this broadcast this evening is coming through that Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel, COS Indiana. Now, the YouTube channel is very much an educational resource for us. We have a number of PowerPoint presentations and also a number of links that we make available to various podcasts that are produced by one of our leaders, Paul Phillips, here in the state of Indiana. So again, a wealth of information for you that is available to you on the YouTube channel. We're also on Twitter, #COS Indiana, and we're in the process of setting ourselves up in Instagram. So we're on social media and a lot of ways to learn more about Convention of States. Our vision here in Indiana is to build a Hoosier grassroots community of citizens and legislators dedicated to the constitutional concept of self-governance. Now, that's the vision that here in Indiana that we're striving to achieve. And that term grassroots, that's very key. You'll hear that mentioned a great deal. But again, our vision is building this grassroots community in Indiana. Let me give you just a few numbers to let you know how we're doing in the state of Indiana. In 2018, we surpassed the 30,000 supporter level here in the state. We're very proud of that. We've been experiencing tremendous growth here in the state of Indiana to the tune of about 40% annually. And we're certainly hoping that that will continue on through 2019, because our goal is to hit 40,000 by the end of this year. Now, amongst those supporters, we have about 2,500 people that have volunteered. In other words, indicated that they would be willing to help out where it may be necessary. Now, also in leadership positions, and we are always looking for more people to take on leadership positions. We have about 32 individuals in various leadership positions. If you have any interest in taking on a possible leadership position in Convention of States here in Indiana, go to the website. Here's this website again, conventionofstates.com. Click on the menu selection, Take Action, and scroll down and look at the different positions that we have available. And if any is of interest to you, open it up, read more about it. And if you're still interested, go ahead and make application. You're not obligated in any way. I might mention the district captain position is one position that we're really looking for people to fulfill. So, but anyway, there are other positions there. Whatever is of interest to you, please feel free to make application. Then one of us will be in contact with you to talk about your interest further. All right. Okay, let's get into then the basics, what we refer to as the basics. The basics involve mainly three aspects, three areas of Convention of States: the problem, the solution, and the plan. And we're not going to go into a great detail on this this evening, but we're just going to kind of give you an overview. But let's talk about the problem. If you had to put it in maybe one sentence, the problem is basically that we think the government's out of control. And there are basic structural issues in our government that have yet to be addressed, not being addressed. And it's not the fault of any one political party. Both parties have contributed to this problem, and it's been going on for decades. It's not just a recent occurrence. This has been going on for decades. These are abuses that our elected officials lack the will and the courage to really address. Abuses. Okay, let's talk about the abuses. We see three major abuses by our federal government. And the first one is our debt. Again, we're not going to go into great detail, but I believe we're approaching, and maybe already be there, $22 trillion in debt. This is something that our country must address. And as I said, our elected officials lack the will and the courage to address this issue. The second abuse that we see has to do with the regulatory crisis in our country, or the administrative state, which has become the fourth branch of our government. So I know the current administration is taking some steps to eliminate some of these regulations, but much, much more work needs to be done in this area. Not only eliminating regulations, but curtailing the process in which these regulations are being created. So the regulatory crisis. And the last area has to do with sovereignty of our states. You know, when the country was founded, we were founded on a concept called dual federalism, where the federal government and the states would share power. Well, that balance has tilted much in the favor of the federal government. And I think we think career politicians are a major part of this, what is causing this abuse. So those are the abuses that we see in the federal government, which is the problem. We think the solution, and this is what we're really all about in Convention of States. We think that a Convention of States needs to be called under Article 5 of our Constitution for the purpose of proposing amendments to address these abuses. So we're going to go into this a little bit here and discuss. There's two methods of amending the Constitution described in Article 5. And let's get into that real quickly. The first method is the one that has been used to date, and that's where 2/3 of Congress can propose amendments to the Constitution. Those proposed amendments then have to be sent to the state legislatures and have to be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures, which would be 38 states. So they have to go through the ratification process. Once ratified, then they become an amendment to the Constitution. Well, the second method, and this method is right there in Article 5. This is not something that we've dreamed up. This is stated in Article 5 of the Constitution. And that is, if 2/3 of the state legislatures apply to hold a convention of states, the convention must be held, and that convention would be for the purpose of amending the Constitution. So any proposed amendments that would come out of that convention would then have to go through the ratification process, just like in the first process, and that would require 3/4 of the state legislatures to ratify, or 38 states. Now, I mentioned that it would require 34 states to make application to hold the convention. That's what we're working toward accomplishing. There have been 12 states to date, in fact, make this application. So we need 22 more. And Indiana is one of those 12 states. So we are, in fact, considered a passed state. In other words, we've passed the application, or also referred to as the resolution. Well, what's our plan to accomplish this, or to achieve this solution? A plan has two parts to it. And the first part has to do with the application. You know, I mentioned that states we need 34 states to make application to hold this convention. Well, we have designed the application. And those 34 applications, I might mention, they all need to be the same. So we have designed the application that we want to get at least 34 states to utilize and pass, calling for the convention. And that application will address three areas: the fiscal restraints, that's the debt; limiting power and jurisdiction of the federal government, that's the administrative state; and term limits. That's the final one, with state sovereignty and the power. Term limits for Congress as well as the federal judiciary. So that's what that's our application strategy, is to get 34 states to utilize this application. The second part of the plan is mobilizing the grassroots. That's you and I. That's getting people involved. As I mentioned, in Indiana, we went over the 30,000 mark last year. Nationally, we're at about 3.7 million supporters in Convention of States. We're in all 50 states. So we are moving along and progressing, but we need everyone to get involved. If you have any interest at all in participating, if it be just a supporter, or if you want to get into a leadership role, go to conventionofstates.com, sign the petition. That's the first step. And then if you have any interest in a leadership position, take a look at some of the positions that we have available. We'd love to hear from you. All right. Let me get back to my screen here. I'll send that PowerPoint back, out of the broadcast. So it's time now to bring on our guest, and I'm going to initiate that process and have him come on and join us here momentarily. Hello, Gary.
Hi, Dale. How are you?
Just fine, just fine. Gary, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Um, Gary, as I mentioned, Gary is one of our region captains, and we're going to devote this broadcast and the next few broadcasts to introducing to you our region captains that we have in place around the state. So, as with all my guests, I always ask the individual to tell us his or her story as to how you got involved in Convention of States. So, Gary, why don't you tell us your story?
Okay, thanks, Dale, for having me on. My story goes back a long way, and really, I could see there were problems with our government. It was out of control, doing things it shouldn't be doing. And in 2012, I actually ran in the primary election to be elected to the Indiana House of Representatives for the sole purpose of having Indiana take the lead in passing a resolution for a convention of states. Well, I ran in a primary with 3 other folks. And to put it real simple, I got my head handed to me in that primary election.
Oh, really?
Came in dead last, but that was okay. Anyway, that was actually about a year and a half before Mark Meckler and Mike Ferris met and put together this project. I became aware of it in March of 2014, and I signed the petition then. And I didn't really do anything for, I don't know, maybe a year. And then I realized that I needed to do more than just sign a petition and say, hey, I'm supportive of this. And so I offered to step up into a leadership role and become a district captain. Was trained and learned a lot and started becoming more active in the Convention of States. Maybe a year or two later, I was offered the opportunity to step up into a higher leadership position as a region captain. And one of the things I saw was that this state had effective leadership, that we were accomplishing things, that were moving forward. And so I thought this is a good place for me to invest my time to try to make a difference so that we can have some restoration of what our Constitution was intended to be for the benefit of my children and grandchildren.
Okay, great, Gary. Good. Thank you very much. Well, Gary, I know we said that you're a region captain, and you're the region captain for Region 3. Now, I'm going to bring up here a map as best we can here. It's not the best. It's a good map. I don't know if our viewers can see it clearly, but where is your region, Gary?
Well, I'm in Region 3, which is basically the northeast part of the state of Indiana. It corresponds roughly to the 3rd congressional district. So when they divided up the state into congressional districts, this is District 3. And the lines aren't exactly the same because the state house is not set up the same way that U.S. Congress districts are. But roughly that's what it is. Fort Wayne is the largest city. We also have Columbia City, LaGrange, Auburn, Angola, parts of Elkhart and up in that area, and south to Huntington and Decatur and that area. So it's, Fort Wayne's kind of the urban part of it. The rest of it is pretty much a rural district, covers a large geographical area.
Right. Okay. Well, okay, that gives us an idea then where Gary's authority as region captain resides. Okay, I'm going to take that off here and let's come back here. Now, I know that within these regions, there are districts, right? And you want to talk about your districts and how those are what kind of leaders do we have in those districts?
Right. So in Indiana, there are 100 House districts. 11 of those districts are in Region 3. So I have 11 district captains, or my goal is to have 11 district captains, one in each of those state House districts. I have, for those 11 districts, there are 7 district captains right now, and there are 4 districts in which I'm still working on recruiting a district captain to become a leader, an activist, and really to be the point person for relating to their state House representative and their state senator.
Can I should I didn't ask you to remember to bring this information, but can you offhand name the 4 districts that you're looking for region captains in, or district captains?
Yeah, the 4 districts are District 79, and that would be Representative Matt Lehman. Representative, or District 80, which is Representative Gia Quinta. District 81, which is Representative Martin Harbaugh. That's here in the Fort Wayne area, as is District 80. And then District 82, which is Representative Ron Abbott. So if somebody's listening in and they're in one of those House districts, if that guy is your state rep, we'd love to have you contact me and learn more about the district captain role, because we have vacancies there and opportunities for people to become leaders and become the point of contact with their state representative for Convention of States.
Okay. Well, Gary, then let's talk about some of the things that some of the other things that you get involved in as a region captain. I know you mentioned to me about something about training, and this is something that you have to get involved in a lot. You want to talk about that then?
Right. We have an excellent training program for district captains. Our state training director really conducts that, but I assist in the district captains in our district. And so we don't just give people a title and say, you're on your own. We actually give them specific training so that they will know what to do and how to do it. So part of my job is involved in that training and motivating and encouraging the district captains to be taking the steps to promote the growth of our grassroots and promote the things that we are promoting with our state legislators, as far as what we call the 34 Ready program, which is something they'll cover in the training and learn about.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned this training program, because it is very important. Before we turn someone loose as a district captain, we do want to give them some basics. So it's not going to teach them everything they need to know, but it certainly will get them started as to what they need to be doing. Okay. Well, Gary, I know you like to be involved as well, and we talked about modeling, and you want to tell us about that?
So one of the things I do is, I want my district captains to be active and involved. And so I want to do the same thing. I want to be active and involved. Recently, we had a booth at a gun show here in Fort Wayne. So I was right in there with the other district captains and volunteers participating in that. So I don't want them to see being a district captain as just a stay at home and send emails kind of thing, but it's a get out and get face to face with people and talk about the Convention of States, because part of our job is educating people who lots of people feel like, wow, the government, something's wrong here. It's out of control. We want to talk to people and tell them that we've got the plan to rectify this problem, to begin the process that can restore our government to the bounds that it's supposed to be in. And I want to model that activity of being an activist myself.
Good, very good. Yeah, Gun and Knife Show was a great success for your group, in the information table that they had there at the Gun and Knife Show. And how many supporters did you enlist during that? It was actually only a 2-day event, right?
Right. It was a 2-day event. We had 58 people who were willing to sit down and stop and take a few minutes to sign a paper petition. We handed out hundreds of contact cards with our web address so people could go online and sign the petition online and get more information. I'm thinking we probably talked to at least 200 people there at the show, and many of them were willing to take the time to step away from the gun show, so to speak, and focus on
Right.
helping the project that we're involved in of building the grassroots and letting our legislators know that we want something done about the out of control federal government.
Okay. Now, we got another gun and knife show coming up, right? We're going to be there again.
We will be there again in March, and it's our understanding that historically that one is even larger attendance than the one in January. The January one was the 5th and 6th. I think the March one is maybe the 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in that area. So if you know people are coming to the gun show, I tell them to look for us because we'll be there again. And we'd be delighted to tell people about it and let them meet some of the people who are involved.
Great, great. Well, the 58 petitions that you had signed, that's all about building the grassroots, right? Growing the grassroots.
Yeah. And the way we grow the grassroots, some of it just happens kind of organically from the website and so forth. But it's really important that we talk to people and get face to face with people. And so they know, there are real people behind this. This isn't just a website that's off in cyberspace, that there are real people on the ground that they can meet with face to face and that they can get involved. And so we want to build that grassroots. We want to get to 40,000 petition signers in Indiana this year. And the more petition signers we have, the more attention we get, and the more the media, both local and national, has to face the fact that we are going to make this happen.
Okay, good deal. Well, and of course, we're always looking for younger people to come in, right?
We are indeed. And a lot of people we connected with at the gun show are younger. And that's one of the areas we want to build on because it's really younger people that are going to face the consequences of the debt and the out of control government. We also have an initiative here in the state to build chapters of Young Americans for Convention to States in the high schools. And I really applaud that. That's a great thing we're doing. And yeah, we want to connect with younger people. Most of the leadership, honestly, are people, well, you can probably see I got some gray hair in my beard, and there are lots of us, but we also want to we want people to know that this isn't just about, something that is of interest to us. It's of interest to everybody, and particularly younger people. And there are opportunities for them to develop leadership skills and people skills and connections throughout the state.
All right. All right. And we want this to happen pretty soon, right? There's some urgency involved here.
There really is, Dale. People can see what's happening in our country. And right now, we feel like is a critical time for us to be moving forward and making this happen. The political climate right now, we think, is favorable. 5 years from now, we don't know what it'll be. So right now, while the situation seems favorable, it's really important that we move forward and take the steps we need to make this happen, not just in Indiana, but nationally.
Great. Okay. Well, Gary, thank you very much for being on tonight. And once again, Gary Harbaugh, Region 3 region captain for Convention of States here in Indiana. So I believe Gary and the other region captains, that level of responsibility and positions in our state is very, very critical. And our region captains really do a good job. And Gary is certainly one of those region captains that's really doing a great job for us. So, Gary, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Dale. Great to be here.
All righty. Good night. Okay, folks, that's it for tonight. Once again, I want to thank you for joining us. Now, our next broadcast will be 1 week from tonight, next Monday, which will be February 4th. My goodness, the month of January is almost gone. So, and on that broadcast, we're going to have another region captain with us, young lady by the name of Kimberly Webb. And Kim is our region captain down in the Indianapolis area. So we'll be having her on and talking with her about her job as region captain. Once again, I want to leave you with my favorite quote from our president, Mark Meckler. I'm going to kind of paraphrase it here, but I think it's so appropriate. And basically, the quote is that, our country is facing a fundamental question, and it's not what should we do. The question really is who will decide. And that's what we're all about. We want, in Convention of States, we want to bring those more and more of those decisions in our governmental affairs of this country, bring those decisions back to the states where we, the people, can be making those decisions, or where our input is more meaningful to make those decisions, as opposed to some political person in Washington, D.C. So the fundamental question, again, is not what should we do, but the question is who will decide. All right. Well, good night, everyone. Thank you. And don't forget to tune in and be with us a week from tonight, February 4th. So good night, everyone.